You believe you are the architect of your own life. But research consistently shows that nearly half of your daily behaviors aren't decisions at all. They are habits, invisible scripts, running on autopilot inside a region of your brain that doesn't care about your goals, your happiness, or your future. The danger isn't the obvious habits you already know about, the procrastination, the late-night scrolling, the avoidance. The real danger lives in the toxic patterns you completely fail to recognize. Today, we're pulling 7 of those ghost habits into the light. And by habit 4, you'll understand the one that's quietly doing the most damage. Habit 1, productive procrastination. You feel busy, you feel tired, you feel like you've worked hard, but the one thing that actually mattered today is still completely untouched.
Perfect. Just need to straighten these up too.
Productive procrastination is the habit of doing low-value work to escape high-value anxiety, answering 50 unimportant emails instead of having the one conversation that would actually move the needle. Your brain releases dopamine for completing any task and does not distinguish between clearing your inbox and finishing what actually matters, so you can feel productive while genuinely failing. The question to ask yourself tomorrow morning is not, what do I need to do, but what am I most afraid to begin? Habit 2, the notification response reflex. Think about the last time your phone buzzed. Did you decide to pick it up, or did your hand move before your mind even registered the sound? This is a conditioned response you've been building for years. You've trained your brain to associate a digital ping with the possibility of social or professional reward, and the reflex is now completely automatic. The cost is enormous and largely invisible. Every time you respond to a notification, it can take more than 20 minutes to return to a genuine state of deep, focused work. If you're checking every 10 minutes, you are never actually working. You are living your entire day in a permanent state of fractured attention, never fully present and never fully resting. You are not just distracted. You are actively training your brain's architecture to have a shorter attention span with every single time you give in to that reflex.
Before smartphones, wide, deep, long, sprawling attention pathways. Now, every check-in shortens this.
This isn't a willpower problem. It's a system design problem. These platforms were engineered by behavioral scientists to win exactly this competition, and your willpower alone was never built to compete. The counter habit requires one firm decision: turn off every non-human notification. If a real person isn't directly contacting you, it does not deserve to interrupt your consciousness. The next habit, though, is harder to catch because it doesn't happen on any screen. It happens entirely inside your own head, where no one else can see it. Habit 3, mental rehearsal of disaster. Do you replay arguments in your head that haven't happened yet? Do you run worst-case simulations for situations before you've even started them? We tell ourselves this is preparation, but the brain cannot distinguish between a real threat and a vividly imagined one. When you rehearse a disaster, your body responds as if the disaster is happening right now. Your stress hormone system floods your body for events that may never occur, and if you practice this consistently enough, your brain carves a dedicated neural pathway for chronic anxiety. Over months and years, what started as situational worry becomes your baseline. Your brain's factory setting quietly shifts from calm to chronically alert without you ever noticing the transition. You become an expert at being stressed, not because your life is objectively difficult, but because you have rehearsed difficulty so many thousands of times it has become your default mode of operation. The awareness intervention is this. The moment you catch yourself inside a mental argument that hasn't happened, name it aloud. I am rehearsing a fiction. That single phrase forces your rational prefrontal cortex back into control. What comes next is a habit so embedded in everyday social behavior that most people never question it. Yet it is quietly deciding your most important outcomes every single day. Habit 4, the yes default. For most people, saying yes is not a choice, it is a reflex. We say yes to the extra project, the event we don't want to attend, favor we genuinely cannot afford to give. The yes default is rooted in one specific fear, the fear of 30 seconds of social discomfort. We trade our long-term peace for a momentary feeling of approval that dissolves almost immediately. Here's the truth. Every yes you give to something you don't genuinely care about is a hidden no to your sleep, your focus, and the mental bandwidth you need to function at your best. If you're finding this valuable, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell. These insights go up every week, and the next video builds directly on what we're covering today. The counter habit is called the 24-hour rule. For any non-emergency request, your default response becomes, "Let me check my schedule and get back to you."
Let me check my schedule and get back to you.
That pause hands your rational mind time to evaluate the actual cost. Instead of letting social instinct give away another piece of your energy and attention on something that doesn't serve you. Every boundary you hold protects something more important than approval, and the people worth impressing will always respect it. But even more invisible than what you say to others is what you quietly repeat to yourself. And the next habit may be the most foundational one on this entire list. Habit 5, internal labeling. I'm just not a morning person. I've always been bad with money. I'm a procrastinator. That's just who I am. These phrases feel like honest observations, but they are something far more dangerous. They are identity habits, and every time you repeat them, you hand your brain a blueprint. The brain is wired for internal consistency and will quietly work to make your outer reality match your inner self-concept. If you've decided you are bad with money, your subconscious will find ways to confirm that story, not out of malice, but out of its deep drive to keep your outer world consistent with your inner beliefs. Your brain also runs a filtering system that scans the world based on what you already believe to be true. If you've labeled yourself as unlucky, it will screen out opportunities and highlight only obstacles. This is why fixed beliefs sustain themselves so completely, why people who expect rejection tend to find it, and why people who enter rooms expecting connection tend to discover it. The rewrite is deceptively simple. Change "I am" to "I have a habit of." A label is permanent, a habit is software, and software can always be updated. Pick one label you repeat about yourself and rewrite it this week, not as denial, but as an open door. The change in language is the beginning of a change in identity. That software metaphor leads us directly to the next habit, one that the modern world has engineered to be more powerful and more addictive than at any point in human history. Habit 6, the dopamine buffet. We live in an era where the barrier to pleasure has never been lower in human history. In any previous era, a dopamine hit required effort, hunting, building, creating. Not anymore. The most destructive version of this habit happens in the first 10 minutes of your morning, before your brain has even fully come online for the day. When you check social media or news the moment you wake up, you set your brain's dopamine threshold for the entire day, making everything that follows feel flat, unrewarding, and nearly impossible to start. You haven't been lazy or undisciplined. You have been chemically outcompeted by your own device before the day has even properly started. These platforms were designed by entire teams of behavioral engineers to create exactly this effect. You cannot out-willpower a system that was specifically built to defeat your willpower. The counter is deliberate. Protect the first 60 minutes of your morning from all screens and external input. Let your brain find its own baseline before anything else sets the tone. That first quiet hour is not time lost. It is the foundation that determines how clearly and how effectively everything else you do that day actually operates. That idea of what makes your day actually operate brings us to the final habit, the one that has quietly buried more potential than perhaps any other on this list. Habit 7, waiting for the feeling. This is the habit that has kept more potential buried than perhaps any other, the belief that you need to feel motivated, inspired, or fully ready before you are allowed to begin. Amateurs wait for motivation, professionals follow a schedule. Emotions are not a reliable engine. They are affected by sleep, what you ate, the weather, and 100 other variables completely outside your control. Here's what we actually understand about momentum. Motivation does not lead to action. Action leads to motivation. The moment you begin, even reluctantly, your brain recognizes the progress and the drive to continue arrives on its own. You've now seen all 7 ghost habits: productive procrastination, the notification reflex, catastrophic rehearsal, the yes default, identity labeling, the dopamine buffet, and waiting for the feeling. You cannot change a habit you cannot see, but awareness is the circuit breaker. Every pattern you've named today has moved from your autopilot back into your conscious awareness.
The autopilot loop runs endlessly. Pause. Snapping this flows in.
Your challenge this week is to pick just one of these 7 habits to intercept. Not all 7, because trying to fix everything at once is itself a form of productive procrastination. Drop a comment telling me which habit hit closest to home. And if you want to keep building this kind of self-awareness, subscribe to the channel. I'll see you in the next one.